I was the last one through the basement door, and it shut behind me with a clunk much heavier than the knob's cheap brass should have allowed. I flinched at the noise, as if the concrete walls of the windowless room had moved closer. 8 folding chairs sat in a circle beneath fluorescent tubes that hummed like insects. A chipped whiteboard announced Phobia Support, Total Honesty Night in cherry red marker. My throat tightened. Claustrophobia had me cataloging exits before I sat anywhere, and now the only exit I saw was the door I'd just heard lock itself. Dr. Rowley, our silver-haired facilitator, was already perched on his chair, hands folded in priestly patience. "Excellent, Ellen," he said, nodding at me. "We can begin." The others gave polite half-smiles. I remembered their names from previous weeks. Martin, who scratched at imaginary spider bites on his forearm. Priya, who never drank the complimentary water because she couldn't stand seeing the liquid swirl. Jane, pale lipstick and darker circles under her eyes, carried a pepper spray canister she swore once belonged to a clown. Blake, who kept his phone off because a single missed call felt like failure incarnate. Rosa, who had a battery lantern hanging from her belt despite the bright lights overhead. Walter, who didn't like reflecting surfaces, and so rolled his long hair into curtains across his cheeks. Sam, the compulsive sanitizer, already rubbing gel into his palms like a magician preparing a trick. "Tonight," Dr. Rowley said, "we're trying something new. Radical candor. Not just about fear, but about everything. Lies keep us sick." He clicked a stopwatch and set it on a plastic table by the wall. The second hand began to sweep. I heard the door's bolt slide, as if responding to his gesture. My pulse skittered. I told myself I'd heard nothing, that the door was fine, but my fear sharpened against the denial. Rowley continued, "The only rule is truth. If you're tempted to soften, to omit, resist. Tell it plain." Martin sniffed. "Sure." He glanced at me, perhaps noticing how I kept searching the walls for hidden vents. "I'm good," he added, but the words trembled. He wasn't good. None of us were. Still, we gave each other timid nods. No one called him on it. "Who'd like to start?" Rowley asked. Priya lifted a hand no higher than her chin. I did the exposure homework, filled the tub as high as my knees, and sat on the edge for 5 minutes. Truth. Her voice shook like bathwater under a tremor. Yet she didn't lie. No manifestation, no disaster. Jane fiddled with her pepper spray. "My truth?" Her laugh was brittle. "I spent $24 on clown documentaries last night, fell asleep with them still playing, woke up to a big red grin on the screen, nearly smashed the TV." We were nodding, affirming. Even I volunteered. "I made it to the subway this morning without picturing the tunnel crushing shut behind us." Rowley beamed. "See? Liberating." Then Blake spoke. "Honestly, this already feels like success." That was harmless until he added, eager to convince himself, "And I'm not afraid of failing this exercise at all." It was the softest untruth, but it was a lie. His pupils shrank. Mine widened. The fluorescent tubes buzzed louder, strobed once, then steadied. The temperature plummeted. From the ceiling corner behind Martin, a fat brown spider as large as my palm dropped on a single thread, thudding onto the linoleum with an audible smack. Martin's chair flipped. He shrieked, hobbling backward until his spine met cinder block. "It's real! It's real!" At the same moment, water burbled from the floor drain under Priya's chair. Only a puddle, but in seconds it rose to her ankles, swirling. A balloon of multicolored cloth popped into existence beside Jane. A garish clown glove, fingertips wriggling though unattached to any arm, as if beckoning. The overhead lights flickered, guttered, and died, pitching us into Rosa's particular nightmare. Yet her lantern clicked on automatically, casting jittery shadows. Across the circle, the blank whiteboard rippled, silvering into a mirror. Walter moaned and turned away, hair falling like curtains. I felt the walls inch inward. Sam's sanitizer bottle shattered, and a ragged cloud of dust, no, pollen, spores, billowed around him. Chaos lasted perhaps 10 seconds, ending when the fluorescent light snapped back as though nothing had happened. The puddle receded. Glove deflated. Spider gone. Everything looked exactly as before, yet the room stank of mildew and clown grease paint. My heart hammered against ribs that had nowhere to expand. Dr. Rowley straightened his glasses. "Fascinating! Fascinating!" Martin shouted. "What the hell just happened?" Blake all but folded in half. "I lied," he whispered. "I didn't mean—" Jane jabbed a finger. "About not fearing failure? You fruitcake!" Blake opened his mouth to protest, to apologize. I couldn't tell which. I slapped my thighs. "Stop! Everybody breathe. We need answers." Rowley paced inside the circle, gaze alight. A collective hallucination, maybe triggered by suggestion. He rubbed his chin. Giddy professor in a disaster movie. "No," Priya said, voice wobbling like a tide line. She pointed at her soaked shoes. "Hallucinations don't leave water." Rosa's lantern went dim, then brightened. "We agreed on honesty. Someone lies and that." Sam hugged his forearms, spotless though his face shone with sweat. "So we never lie again." He nodded too fast. "We just, stay truthful." The door. I hurried to it and twisted the knob. It wouldn't budge. A metal deadbolt I'd never noticed before jutted out like a tongue. "We're locked in," Martin cursed. "Did you plan this, Doctor?" Rowley raised both palms. "The building is old. Locks stick." "Bull," Jane said. A hush landed over us, everyone afraid the accusation itself might trigger another nightmare. Yet nothing happened. Apparently, calling a lie out loud wasn't the same as telling it. Rowley sighed. "Look, I'll fetch maintenance." He walked to the door and knocked. The echo was swallowed by concrete. No reply. He pulled his phone. No signal. We exchanged a ring of stares. Each of us knew the simplest mistake. Pretending you were okay, saying you weren't afraid when you were, could bring back the terrors. "Let's sit," Rowley said eventually. "We maintain honesty, we stay calm." We settled again. The second hand on the stopwatch swept like a metronome. Minutes crawled. No one dared speak first. The hush grew oppressive. My lungs petitioned for more air and found none. I blurted, "The walls feel closer." "That's because you're anticipating," Rowley said. "My truth," I corrected. "If I don't name it, I'll start lying." Martin nodded. "I can still feel spider legs on me." Priya whispered, "I taste salt water." The act of open confession steadied us, like bleeding poison from a wound. 5 minutes passed, maybe 10. Then Sam cleared his throat. "I'm fine," he said. We all jerked toward him. His eyes darted. Beads of sweat slid along his temples. "Sam," Rosa warned, "tell the truth." "I am," he insisted, wiping his forehead with a sleeve he usually guarded from germs. "I'm perfectly—" A muffled splash cut him off. Water poured from the ceiling seam above Priya. Not a stream, but a sheet, drenching her shoulders. She screamed, leaping toward the center. The lantern extinguished, plunging us into Rosa's terror of darkness. In the pitch, Blake muttered, "Not again," and a chorus of tiny, chitinous feet skittered across linoleum. My skin erupted in needles. Someone, Walter by the hair silhouette, rammed into me, sending both of us against the supposedly immovable wall, which flexed like rubber then rebounded, launching us forward. I could not see anything, yet I felt the room shrink, humming like a furnace. At my left ear, a clown laugh wound up, mechanical and obscene. "Truth!" Rowley yelled, voice cracking. "Say it, Sam!" "I'm scared," Sam bawled. "There, I'm filthy and scared." The overhead bulbs flashed to life. Water stopped. Shadows retreated. A single spider remained, squashed beneath Martin's shoe. Its corpse deflated into dust. The wall was rigid concrete again. A striped clown glove lay by Jane's foot. She kicked it away with a yelp. I gulped air that smelled of wet basement and carnival sugar. "Okay," I stammered. "We have a rule book now. One lie, Everything arrives. Own the fear, it recedes. Then let's truth our way out, Blake suggested. Start with secrets, real ones. Maybe that breaks whatever this is. Rowley clasped hands behind his back. A sound therapeutic technique, he agreed. So we went around the circle. Martin admitted he bred tarantulas in college to prove his bravery, but sold them after a molting gone wrong left one twitching half-skinned. Nightmares began that night. Priya confessed her older brother had held her underwater to teach her to swim. Jane revealed her father, an alcoholic birthday performer, once came home still in makeup and tore apart her dolls. Rosa, near tears, recalled the night her mom left and cut the power to avoid paying one final bill. Walter told us a mirror had shown him his twin's face the morning after the twin died. Hospital prank or something weirder. He never knew. Sam whispered about watching a documentary on flesh-eating bacteria at age 7, then spending a month convinced he was rotting alive. Blake took longest. He was the eldest son in a family that measured worth in trophies. His first B made his father stop speaking to him for a week. When they'd finished, a hush settled not of terror, but of reverence. I swallowed. My turn, I said. I was trapped in an elevator for 6 hours when I was 9. Everyone said it would be okay. The building crew, my babysitter outside. They kept saying, almost there. They lied until I didn't believe space itself would ever open again. No manifestations erupted. The truth seemed to hold the room quiet. Rowley smiled, almost proud. See how honesty diffuses anxiety? I narrowed my eyes. Something in his tone rang rehearsed. Doctor, you haven't shared. He lifted shoulders. I'm the facilitator, not a patient. That wasn't an answer, Rosa said. He looked around at 8 pairs of expectant, frightened eyes. Very well, he said. Full transparency. I have a tichophobia too. Fear of failure. My worst nightmare is botching a session so badly that someone is hurt. Sounded reasonable. Too reasonable. I studied his face. His lips quirked at the edges as if anticipating applause rather than understanding. And the stopwatch on the table kept ticking, though no one had set an end time. Something felt off. Is that the whole truth? I asked. Rowley's smile froze. Of course. The room held its breath. Then a cold wind exhaled from nowhere. Faint skittering started in the vents. A drop plinked onto Priya's shoulder. The lie had been spoken. Rowley backed away from the circle, expression shifting from confidence to alarm. Impossible, he muttered. I told the lights died fully this time, even Rosa's lantern refusing to spark. Total blackness. I heard Walter screaming about mirrors, Martin cursing, Jane gagging at the echo of honking horns. The air thickened, water rose past my ankles. But worse. There was another sensation, like the concrete itself turning to loose soil around my calves, pulling me downward. My phobia flared. The room was crushing us, but now it was also burying us. Doctor, I shouted above the cacophony. What are you hiding? A maniacal clown horn blared inches from my ear. I slapped empty air. Rowley's voice came shaky, disembodied. I locked the door deliberately. To intensify the exercise. I read about a radical intervention, fear inoculation through forced truth, but I didn't know it would get literal. That's the truth, Sam yelled, coughing. Yes, I'm sorry. Nothing changed. The horrors raged on. Water at my knees, spiders on my shoulders, darkness absolute, the walls grinding closer. More, Priya gasped. All of it. His voice broke. I lied when I said I feared failing you. What I actually fear is being exposed as a fraud. My license was suspended 6 months ago. I'm not allowed to practice. The clown laugh cut off mid-cackle. The spiders dropped away like ash. Water drained so fast it left my ears popping. A dim amber glow seeped back into the room, source unknown. I could see Rowley now. Jacket soaked, hair hanging in strands, shame hollowing his cheeks. No one spoke. Then Jane stepped forward, pepper spray dangling uselessly. "You trapped us with our nightmares to feel like a real therapist?" Rowley nodded, hugging himself. "I thought if I cured you, the board would reinstate me." A fresh wave of rage rolled through us, but also clarity. The mechanism was clear. Not just truth, but the whole truth. Partial honesty counted as a lie. Rosa clicked her lantern. This time, it lit. "We get out by telling every withheld thing," she said softly. "Even stuff that hurts to say." I looked at Martin. He looked at me. Without speaking, we agreed. "I resent my parents for acting like phobias are personality quirks," Martin began. Light steadied. "I stole my brother's inhaler once to make him stay home and watch cartoons with me," Rosa admitted. The darkness remained at bay. "I sometimes wish my dad had never come home at all," Jane whispered. Water stayed gone. No clown glove stirred. One by one, we emptied ourselves. Priya: "I dream about drowning my brother." Walter: "I check every mirror hoping to see my twin again because I miss him." Sam: "The germs are an excuse. I'm actually scared that without rituals no one will take care of me." Blake: "If I don't succeed, I'm afraid I'll be abandoned. So I pretend I don't care about anyone to beat them to it." The air grew warmer, but not stifling. It felt breathable, expansive. At last, I spoke my hidden shard. "I lied earlier when I said I didn't picture the subway crushing shut today. I did. I picture it every single minute underground. I just wanted you to think I was improving." Silence, calm, almost peaceful. Rowley cleared his throat. He started, then stopped. His eyes glistened. "I don't just fear being a fraud. I know I am one. I forged the building permit to rent this room after hours. If the board finds out, I'll go to jail." The stopwatch beeped then, though no one had set an alarm. We stared. Rowley approached the door and tried the knob. It turned effortlessly. He swung it open. Cool night air carried street noise and the distant scent of roasted chestnuts from a cart. None of us moved. "Free to go," he said weakly. Martin's laugh was half sob, half incredulity. "Are the fears waiting outside?" I glanced around the bare basement room. The phantoms were gone. Only puddle stains, shoe prints, and a smear of clown grease paint remained. Evidence enough. "We walk," I said. "Together." We filed out. Corridor lights arced overhead like a runway. Stairs led up to a glass lobby buzzing with midnight traffic. Space unfolded beyond, huge and forgiving. At the threshold, I felt the ceiling of my mind lift. I took the deepest breath of my adult life and stepped onto the sidewalk. The sky was a black vault, but it was honest, infinite. I was still afraid of tight places, yet in that moment fear felt like weather rather than destiny. Behind us, Rowley lingered by the exit, eyes pleading for something, absolution perhaps. Jane paused. "We should call the board," she said. We were silent, weighing punishment against compassion. Blake answered, surprising himself. "Truth matters, but so does mercy." We left Rowley there, not forgiven, not condemned, facing the same unflinching honesty we'd been forced to confront. I suspected that was punishment enough. The 8 of us reached the corner where the city opened in every direction. No door locked behind us, no voice demanded we perform. Martin inhaled. "Coffee," he offered. Priya smiled, wringing out her hair. "As long as it's not a pool." We laughed. A ragged, exhausted chorus carrying more relief than any therapist's approval. We began walking, and each step felt less like an escape and more like a promise that whatever crouched in the dark corners of our minds, we could face it, if not alone, then at least honestly and together.